Hello, everyone. It's Jazz. It's West Ham Minds channel. It's Thursday. I hope everyone is doing good. And yeah, did a really quick show this morning when the news broke that we have agreed terms with Danny Ings of Aston Villa. And then as we come today, I wanted to do a longer show now. Hopefully we'll get a few of the channel guys joining us. We'll go through the chat as usual, and then I'll try to show you one or two things on Danny Ings. We'll kind of look at, which is the most important question for us, is that let's get realistic. Yeah, terms have been, the fee has been agreed. Terms should be agreed this morning, and then the medical really, and we shouldn't see any issues in any of that. The only thing that could be an issue, but hopefully it's not, and the player is well aware of it, is if he wants a relegation release clause in there. So hopefully they come to some kind of agreement regarding that, or whatever the football industry norm is when you sign a player this late. We all remember when I think it was under Avram Grant, when we threw everything, the kitchen sink at it, didn't we? When we bought Robbie Keane, Mido, Bar we found, didn't we, from Hoffenheim, was it? And then we didn't have any clause in there to make it permanent. And then obviously the whole of the league saw how good Bar was, and then Newcastle took him for next to nothing off us, and Bar, we got relegated and Bar just walked off, didn't he? Which is the modern footballer, really. So just bear that in mind. But it looks quite likely that the deal more or less should happen, will be done. And I'll go into a bit more details around the transfer, what's going on. But let's look in the chat. Let's see what's going on. Usual suspects in there. What this looks like, usual suspect, is that it's definitely a Sullivan signing more than Moyes. I don't think Moyes. I think he's bypassed Moyes now. He's just Sullivan realizes that the shit we're in at the moment, and if it goes to Moyes, Moyes is going to dally over it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and will just say no. I think Sullivan has just bypassed him. This is a Sullivan signing. He loves to sign strikers, as we know. He's one of the Danny Ings is obviously, yeah, he gets me excited. It's when I grew up playing football in the 80s. It was 4-4-2, little man, big man. Danny's kind of, yeah, slightly. Well, he's kind of in the middle. He's not little or big, but I'll regard him as a little striker for now. Someone would be next to, I don't know, Andy Carroll or someone like that. And obviously great on the ground, quite strong like Tony Cottee, can hold the ball up, well built. Got that striker's knack, that instinct, that what you pay for, which we haven't seen for such a long time. And Tony has obviously driven us mad with, he doesn't, and Tony, which we're going to talk about, obviously for me, I've had enough of the guy. Hopefully Frankie will join in. He's got a few things to say about him. But for me, we've probably forgotten what a striker is. It's been that long. We've forgotten. I remember. And it's like watching people like Anelka live, ooze class. And it's what they do when they haven't got the ball is what's interesting with people like Danny Ings. The movement, which you'll see much better when you're in the ground than on the pitch, from TV. But that's what Danny Ings brings you. He brings off the ball movement, very clever thinking, gambles, knows where the ball's going to go before it's there. And then you get that 1 second ahead of the defender, and he can head it, he can kick it, he can slide it in, he can finish that. Nketiah, the Arsenal guy, if you're seeing his finishes, that's a striker. That goal Nketiah scored, was it in the cup? He took it around the goalkeeper calmly and dinked it over. That's precision, that's class, that's cool. That's what you pay for. People like Bowen, Antonio, blazes balls over the bar, out the ground, hit the post, fall down. It's just completely garbage at the moment, really. Alex, it is. It's Sullivan signing, mate. And also rumours are coming out that Danny obviously wanted to know what's going on with David Moyes, and they assured him, or more or less told him, that he's going, mate. So I don't think they wanted to sack him perhaps before this Everton game, something to do with a David Gold tribute. I don't know. It shouldn't really. It's two different topics. You got to do what you got to do, So I don't think they wanted to overshadow that. I don't know. But then, is it worse that you do the tribute and then you sack him at 6 o'clock in the evening or something like that? I don't know. What do you do if we win the game? I think it's one of those where even if we win, draw, he's out the door. I cannot see him, especially the next 3 fixtures coming up. We need a good manager in place for that. That's me saying good afternoon to myself. Let's have a look. Just George is in there. George, how you doing, mate? Afternoon, sir. Afternoon. Actually, that's what I was thinking, Mark. But welcome anyway, mate. That's what I was thinking. But when I looked at the league appearances last 4-5 season at least, mate, it's been all right. It's been all right. But you're right to bring that up. But if I have a look at is the league games played, let me tell you quickly league games played. So if we start off with the 18-19 season, so I'm only going to talk about the Premier League. So he played 24 games. The next season, 38 games, which is everything. Then he played 29 games, and then he played 30 games, and then he played 18 games. So Mark, I was thinking like you, mate, but I think that appearances kind of is not bad. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Frankie, live from Sydney, Australia. How you doing, sir? What's good, the local time? I'll tell you what, it was a rather typical mundane Thursday morning till my phone started going a bit busy, mate, bit mad. And one of my good old friends, Steve, he's obviously, I think he stares at the phone non-stop all day. You know, if someone farts at West Ham, he knows about it. He tells me, you know, someone goes, you know, he's one of those fans. He lives and dies by it. And I had a meeting early on, probably like you, a couple of things to do. And then I quickly jumped on for 10, 15 minutes and then things have developed further in the day and will do today. And basically the two things I want to cover first with you, Frankie, and as you can see, we will go on to Antonio as well. So it's two topics we want to tackle. But with Danny Ings, what it looks like, if it goes through, mate, this is a Sullivan signing. I think he's bypassed David Moyes. He's not even asked him, do you want him or not? He loves strikers, especially ones like these. It's been done. And then the second thing is, mate, before I let you sort of on the leash, is that I was obviously injury prone. Danny Ings, the two words go together. But when you look at the Premier League appearances from 2018-19, it's not. I mean, okay, look at the Premier League games from 18-19. He's played 24 games. Then the following season, he played 38 games. Then he played 29 games. Then he played 30 games, and obviously 18 now, mate. So he's been all right. He's been fit. He's been strong. Let you get on with it now, mate. I've got loads of things, but we'll go into them later on.
Yeah, I mean, if we were in different circumstances, I wouldn't be so keen. We need now players. We don't need players for the future right now. We need players who are going to get us out of trouble, mate. And you know, somebody who's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League, I think, is a lot better than taking a gamble on like this Moffy or whatever his name is. You know, Danny Ings is going to be able to come in, hit the ground running, and it makes sense to me, mate. So, you know, but this is what we were saying before. All those people who were so desperate to hang on to Moyes and have bled David Moyes' tenure with us dry, we've ended up in this scenario because of those people. We're going to end up with a saviour manager because we waited too long. We're going to end up with 30-year-old strikers because we've waited too long. You know, if we'd have done this earlier, when we all knew we had the problems that were about to unravel, and well, it weren't even unraveling, mate. We knew from, you know, last year that this was going to be the situation we was going to be in. So if we'd have got rid of David Moyes then, we would have been able to get a next level manager, and we might be signing next level strikers and strikers that are going to come in and really push West Ham on. Unfortunately, we're not in that position because we've held on to him too long. We supported him for far too long. And now we're in a situation where we need a manager who's going to get us out of trouble. And we're going to need a striker like Danny Ings, who is 30 years of age, isn't massively exciting, isn't one for the future, definitely doesn't solve our striker problem for the long term. But what he may be able to do is get us the goals that keep us in the Premier League. And that's it. So fingers crossed, mate.
Yeah, I think we've got to mix it up. And like I always said, we are passionate fans. And me, especially when there's a signing, I'll get excited. And I don't really go into what he's being paid, how much it's cost. It's never my problem. I don't really care. And then if you have him and then you have another 2, 3, and then it looks much better. But if you just have him and you're playing one up front, then obviously that's going down the same kind of route. And we'll go into the lineups a bit, formation, what I think might happen. But for Danny Ings, you've got to do 4-4-2 more than not, or think of another way. I know Villa have Definitely played 4-4-2 in the past, and then they put him on the wing for a bit or as a sub. But yeah, he can bring a lot of good things. Great finisher, we used to watch growing up, 4-4-2, Tony Cottee mold, Chicharito mold, those kind of people. Penalty taker in the making as well. If you need him to do it, I'm sure he could do that job. And then obviously gone are the days. We just got to do things simply, Frankie, with the new manager. Is you play strikers as a striker and play the striker the way he wants to play, whether it's on their own or if it's two up front, you've got to do that. And put the wingers back on the wing, have a proper defense in place. What I mean by that is full backs who know how to defend as a unit. They don't need the wingers a lot to help them. Obviously, when you're under the cosh, the wingers should come back and help. But what's been happening now from kickoff is half the team are behind the ball, mate, trying to help the old guys at the back. So we need to obviously sort all of those things out. But I think I'm okay with it. They're just stumbling block. I think it's just that relegation release clause just need to be agreed if there's going to be an issue, and there's medical and terms. But you don't drive up for a medical or talk about medical until terms should be done. Fees been agreed. It is a bit less than what we think. It's around 10 to 12 million up front and the rest on add-ons. 30 years old. He's not 31 until July. Yeah, been around the block. Klopp, one of Klopp's first signings from Burnley. Then he had that awful year out, or more than the year out. In terms of goals scored, mate, yes, 7 in 24, 22 in 38, 12 in 29. And then not so good last season, 7 in 30. Obviously, I don't know how many of those were kind of substitute appearances, but 6 assists out of those 30, as well as 7 goals and 6 goals this season. I'm fine with it, mate. Hit the ground running. Just hope he doesn't get any of that bad luck West Ham signings get. That's the only thing I worry
What scares me, mate, there's a few things there. What scares me is the West Ham curse of injury-prone players. He might come in, do a Kieran Dyer or whatever, do a Dean Ashton, never play football again after signing for West Ham because he goes and gets a really bad injury. Fingers crossed and touch wood, mate, that does not happen. I think he would get the best out of Scamacca, to be honest. I think if you can get both of them on the pitch at the same time, I think Scamacca will benefit from him massively. Someone who's got a brain, someone who knows a striker's role, someone who knows how to feed off of him. I think Ings would benefit from playing with Scamacca, and I think Scamacca would benefit from playing with Ings. I think there's a double plus there. So I think that'll be really good. So yeah, I mean, it's no, I'm all right with it, mate. I think
I'm all right.
It's okay.
And hopefully he gets a few goals and your son enjoys his football a bit more.
Well, that would be good, but we're still not signing the hero that my son desperately needs. We still need someone that is a magical player for West Ham that gives kids someone to believe in. He likes Bowen and that, but Bowen's gone right off the boil. Bowen had that little bit of something about him. But I tell you what, the biggest plus is about this whole situation, right now, this is the biggest positive aspect of signing Danny Ings. We can now get rid of Antonio that don't want to be here. Fuck off to wherever you want to go to. Disappear fast. Just get up wherever he's going. Go there now and get somebody in who actually wants to play football, mate. Because that is the biggest plus that we're going to have. We're going to have somebody out there who wants to play football, wants to score goals, and actually wants to play for West Ham and get us out of this situation. So that for me is the biggest positive. Someone who actually wants to play.
I think so. And yeah, David Moyes has drained the energy out of the club, the fans. We've just had enough of him. And yeah, let's get back to basics, play people where they should be playing. And for me, God, if we can get 8, 9, 10 million for Antonio, I'll drop him off myself. Just get rid of him. He's just looked far too happy for the situation we've been in. And like you said, mate, if you do your work on the pitch, you can do whatever you want. Like Macaroni used to say, I stay up all night, but he goes, the players will let me do it. I did it on the pitch, and then nightclub or not, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Doing podcasts, doing video clips,
mate,
laughing
people
around. Yeah.
Seem surprised by the stance that Mikel Antonio has taken in this situation. Mate, he's got a track record for this. I've never really liked him. You've got people who have loved him in the past for whatever reason. Mate, when we asked him to play right back, he used to kick off a stink like you couldn't believe. Almost refused to play right back. Really got the didn't want to play there. You know, a good player plays wherever the team needs them. Don't make a fuss of it. Just get on with the job. The way Antonio was with that old man outside the ground, and I know a lot of people backed Antonio and whatever else. For me, you've got your old granddad standing there with the kids outside the training ground just trying to get an autograph.
Oh yeah.
And the players can't even give 2 minutes just to stop to sign an autograph, I think is disgusting. And I know a lot of people back the players. I don't understand why. Just for me, mate, Antonio's never really been that bothered about West Ham, doing his silly little podcast he does at the moment and all that, with his massive set of teeth that he's got in his thing now. I don't know. For me, I just he ain't a bit of me. He's never been proper West Ham. I don't think he's ever particularly cared about West Ham, and I think he showed how much he cared about West Ham when he was our only striker, but wanted to start playing more games and going to play for Jamaica. And I know you can't hold that against him wanting to play international football. I understand that. But when you're the only striker for the football club and we was doing what we was doing and how many games he had to play, bearing in mind his injury record wasn't particularly great anyway, you think he would have half a brain to think, playing more games isn't what myself needs or what West Ham United needs right now. West Ham's never been his main priority. And it's as simple as that. And I can't wait to see the back of him, mate, to be honest.
2 clubs they reckon Danny Ings has rejected. I'm just guessing, but obviously if you look at the 2-3 around us, you've got Wolves, you've got kind of Everton sniffing around for players. So it's going to be something like that. And also, I know Frankie's saying Antonio being like that goes back a good few months, if not more. But every time a window opens, you always get those players doing things in the press, having a go at trying to help them move on. It's the agents telling him to create a bit of fuss. And he's blaming the system and things like that. Absolute joke, mate. I mean, there's a lot of things Antonio does on the pitch which isn't really anything to do with systems. If you're clean through with the ball, if you fall over, kick it over out the ground, that's got nothing to do with the formation. If you're constantly not there for your mates, not tracking back, not pressing, that's got nothing to do with the system, mate. It's the attitude. And like Frankie said, if the manager tells you to help out a little bit somewhere, you got to kind of do it instead of sulking. And he's a moody player. When he's on his game, Antonio, he's unstoppable. But it's been a long time. And I know there's loads of fans, me and Frankie, don't agree with. We think you're only as good or remember as reasonably. Just go back 4 or 5 games. But someone done like Moyes helped us 2-3 years ago. Antonio scored a lot of goals 1.5, 2 years ago. Thank you. Listen, he's been rewarded for that. He's got the, player of the year, whatever, the goal record, Premier League, got the new contract. Been well rewarded. We don't need a statue outside of these guys or anything like that. We're kind of shambles at the moment the last 2 years. But James, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Good, mate. West Ham has signed some signed a player. So
we're springing our steps this morning, mate. Very excited. Very excited, mate.
I think it's a good signing. 100%. I think it's anyone who's not happy about this, I don't know what's wrong with them, if I'm being honest. He's Premier League proven. He's Villa's top goal scorer this season, I think it is. Makes no sense. But it's a good signing for us.
Yeah, and also same as me, same as you, injury prone and Ings are 2 words together. But when I look at it going back to 2018-19, he's played 24 games, 38 games, 29 games, 30 games, 18 games. He's not injury prone, mate. Bad injury when Klopp signed him. He's fine. He tries to get a goal every 3 games at worst, 1 in 2 if you really support him, penalty taker, real DNA, a proper striker. I mean, Frankie was saying, that's time to go back to basics, get a new manager in, play a striker up front, 4-4-2 ideally for Ingsy, and then put the wingers back on the wing. Proper defense, proper fullbacks, proper unit. No need for wingers to go back and help the old pensioners at the back. Just do these things across the pitch and we'll be all right, mate. Basically.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple and things will fall into place. I think he's all right, mate. I really do. I really don't see why people are not really happy about it. But listen, he'll score goals. He'll make goals, and he scores all kinds of goals and all. So yeah,
I do get reservations. I don't understand why people not. It's a really good situation and short term signing. For the situation we're in, good signing. For the short term, good signing. He is going to start halfway through this year. He's going to be 31. you know, a player like him, once you lose that bit of pace, that bit of sharpness, 32, 33, he's finished. So he's going to be a striker for us for the next 12 to 18 months. That's it. Let's not pretend it's any more than that, because it's not. That is what he is. But right now, we couldn't have gone and asked for a player who can hit the ground running better and start scoring goals, which we drastically need to get us out of this situation. So I'm very happy with it in that regard. Is it what we were all trying to build for and you know, look into the future and a long-term solution for our striking problem? No. You know, for that, you need someone who's 24, 25, 26.
But let's not forget though, if he comes in, he's gonna teach Scamacca a few things. Like about the Premier League.
I just said that, James. I actually think he makes Scamacca a better player.
Yeah.
And I actually think Scamacca is the perfect player to play alongside Ings as well. You know, when you are getting to that stage where you're 31, you know, your legs are not quite as sharp as they used to be. To have Scamacca winning those balls in the air and getting the ball down to Ings' feet, I actually think Ings will benefit from that. And, you know, he has been that sort of 7-odd goal a season. I actually think he could start getting double figures for us for the next sort of, like I said, 12 to 18 months. So, yeah, I think both players will benefit from each other there.
And the other thing, James, is this is definitely a Sullivan signing. He's bypassed Moyes European and just done the deal, mate.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's come to. But I covered it about 2 weeks ago. I said West Ham will probably look at Ings as a player, and because he was sitting in Villa not doing nothing, and they've gone and got him. I think if he scores 5-6 goals for us this season, then that's good enough. I think. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, I want him to score more than that, but I think it's an excellent signing, mate. Really do. Like with the wide players like Bowen. How many times does Bowen have to keep cutting inside now?
Yeah,
if he's got Ings he can stay out on there and just put the balls in, and Ings will be running in. And if West Ham are trying to play this sort of ball on the ground and like with pace and everything, then he's the man, really. Do you know what I mean? I ain't worried about the injuries because every player gets injured, let's be honest. Antonio's been a massive injury-prone player for a few years, but last year he weren't too bad. So, no, listen, good signing, good value.
For you, though, James, does Moyes have to go for this to be a good signing?
Yes, please.
I'm not sure he's going to play. I'm not sure Moyes' football he plays now suits Ings at all. I think if he's going to use him in the way that
it doesn't suit anyone.
Antonio,
it doesn't suit anyone.
Yeah, but if he's going to stick him up front on his own all the time, I think it could be a disaster.
It wouldn't surprise me though.
Super sub, James. Daniel.
If Sean Dyche, imagine, just say Sean Dyche come in. Sean Dyche worked with Ings at Burnley, so it wouldn't be
Cornet as well.
Yeah, and Cornet and all. So, yeah, I agree. I think Moyes is done, mate. If I'm honest, I think after the Everton game, I'll be very, very shocked if he's here for the Derby game. Put it like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So, whatever the result is against Everton, I think if we win the game, I think he's gone. And like, if we lose or draw, I definitely think he's gone. But
there's a bit of talk there in the chat as well about this. You know, who's going to create the chances, and we have a supply issue. And I'm not a stat man. I'm not, because I don't see us creating much when I watch us play. But when you actually look at the stats, we actually, in terms of ranking for chances created and opportunities in the final third, we're actually not bad. We're sort of in the top sort of 6 or 7. So it sort of suggests that we do get the ball into, you know, those final parts of the pitch. It just seems like we've not got anyone there to.
I think it's the final pass, though. I do think it's the final pass with us. Like, the amount of times that the lads have been in good opportunities, good positions, and basically not passed the key pass at the right time. That's the only thing I will say on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll go into formation probably a bit later on another show. But what I'm thinking is, in terms of the window, James, we need a left back, right back, someone give Areola a chance and decide either way what we're going to do. Ings and Scamacca, we got to try that up front with Benrahma, Paqueta in there, Bowen back to the wing. Rice being a proper CDM, what I'm saying, Jen. None of this running around being a hero, trying to score penalties. You stay in there, mate, and don't move. And I think our minds are floated because Rice is a weird CDM who's come after a long time with extra talent. A CDM is just meant to be a 20-25 million pound player that just sits in there, elbows, kicks you, pulls your hair a bit, and then gives it to. This is what we need to go back to, isn't it?
I think Rice has got to basically do as he's told now. If I'm being honest, I think, like someone said to me before, James, if Declan went to a bigger club like Liverpool, Man City, whatever, right, and they said to him, "You're our CDM," he will stay as a CDM. Like, he won't be saying to himself, "No, I want to be box to box. I want to do this, that, and the other." I think Declan knows he's bigger, or he thinks he's bigger than West Ham. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why he's dictating to where he wants to play. In my opinion, he has to sit as a CDM. He's a world class CDM. Let's be honest. So that's what we need. We need a world class CDM who can like patrol that sort of midfield line of midfield and defence. In my opinion.
I think, like Frankie said, what happened was he got too big for his boots, Rice, ran everything, played wherever he wanted, and I think Souček suffered a bit. But for the new manager, whoever is Souček, mate, for me, it's coming to the end for him. He can't tackle, he can't pass, you can't put him in any team like that. You need Rice as a CDM. Try to put more defensive side to Paqueta. It might work, it might not. We'll see what happens. But yeah, a lot of players ain't going to fit into the new manager's mold, mate, that we've been carrying. Antonio, Scamacca, Krezi, Fabianski, Kehrer, all of these guys are going to be up and down, mate. I know we can't change everything in one window, but fullbacks is real urgent. And left wing, because Cornet probably going to have to rule him out for this season. Fornals isn't your typical winger. Fornals isn't your typical CDM. Again, a bit worried about him because we just need to buy it. Bowen's a good winger. Get down to the byline, cut in if you need to, cross it in. He'll be fine. But what Bowen has to do is just think about what's behind him. So all these things, get a good fullback so the winger stops looking behind to help you. Wingers look forward, pick up the ball deep, run down the byline, cut in. This is all these managers should do.
Danjuma would be the man for me for that on the left-hand side. He runs at people. He's direct. He's pacey. He will make things happen. Like, if you want a player who has been sort of mentioned all the time, it is Danjuma. Like, Danjuma would be the one that West Ham need. Also, one thing I will say is we need a few ball carriers in this team. Like, we've got one real ball carrier, and that is Bowen, really. Benny can carry the ball, but to a certain point, and that's coming from me. So I think we need a couple of ball carriers. Like when we had Lingard carried the ball up the pitch and got, you know what I'm saying? But
the thing with Benrahma again, mate, is that psychologically he's up and down. He don't get on with the manager, and he's one of those needs an arm around him and given a good run of games and told to do what he's best at, which is a few tricks, a few dribbles, set things up. Don't worry about the CDM. Rice will sit there.
To the Game Day podcast from TalkSport with me.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I can't wait for Moyes to go, if I'm honest. Because I know that once he does go, you might actually see the best of Benny. If I'm being honest, listen. I've had many debates. I've had many debates with you and Frankie over the last sort of year, 18 months with Benrahma. But this year, to me, has proved quite a lot that a lot of the fans have looked at him and said he ain't really that bad. Like, do you know what I mean? He's trying. He's one trier in the team who is like, when you look at him, it might not be great what he does, but he does try, and you can't beat a try at West Ham. That's one thing I will say.
Yeah, Steve, for me, a defeat's a defeat, whether you lose 5-0 or 1-0. I'm not really worried about that. When you got 9 people behind the ball, the issue is when we've had to score, and then when we've scored 2, Steve, we let in 3 at the back, mate. So it's been a bit of a shit show. But for me, the players have had enough. They're not playing for him. I know that for a fact. And the quicker this happens, it's just that, why is he still here? I don't know if it's the gold tribute. A lot of people saying that.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, mate.
Wow.
It is that.
I thought we were running 2 different subjects there. But then isn't it worse if you sack him at 5:45 then, or 6? I don't know.
No, I just think, like, I don't think they will do it on the day, but they'll probably do it Sunday morning or Monday morning or something. Don't forget, West Ham's next game isn't until Derby, which is the following Monday, I think it is. So West Ham have got plenty of time to go sort this out and not sort of broadcast it straight after. But yeah, I think it is wrong, but it's understandable though.
It'd probably be Sunday morning then, perhaps. Probably be Sunday.
Yeah.
Your question, mate, Rocky, it's going to be 2 up front, my man. We can't think of anything else. It's up to the manager. I mean, I'll do a separate show on the formations, but they've got to think of the tactics, mate. But you, back to the drawing board, yeah. Defense, defenders, wingers go up front, attackers attack, and nothing else done. Nothing else in terms of that, really.
What footed is Danny Ings? Is he right-footed?
Let's have a look. Probably both, mate, to be fair, I reckon.
be interested to see what he is, because I actually think I don't think West Ham will play a 2. I think they'll play a 3, and I think he'll be part of. If he's left-footed, I think he'll go on the left. But someone to see he's right-footed, so that won't happen.
No, I don't want him on the wing.
That's how Moyes could use him, you know.
Oh, no,
I could see that. That would be a very Moyes thing to do. That.
I reckon he's right-footed. Some of the websites are saying. Yeah.
The only reason normally I would be a bit against that, but the only reason I'd be fairly okay with that is the way Scamacca used to play with Raspadori at Sassuolo. That's how they played, a more inside forward from the left hand side, who got a lot closer to the main striker rather than hugging the line, and that got the best out of Scamacca. So on that basis, it might not be a bad thing.
I think he does need players closer to him. Let's be honest. He's so isolated at the minute; it's unreal.
And what I was saying back with the Rice money, we do get the, I don't know what it is, 80, 90, whatever, and replace him. Just use 20 million, 25 to replace him. I think we need to spend money on the wings. Then you can play 4-2-3-1, 4-5-1, all these things. I think wing backs and wingers is the way forward, isn't it? That's where you've got to spend your key money. No need to buy a 60 million CDM to replace Rice or any of that, mate. And Souček, we'll see in the summer what happens. If we're going to recycle some of that cash. Antonio, if we can get enough. Who's Antonio been linked with them, James? Isn't it Wolves and Everton? Isn't it?
Wolves and Everton, yeah, 2 clubs.
And before he came on, me and Frankie, you've had enough of Antonio as well, mate, as you know, and he's talking himself into a move a bit more than usual on that podcast and stuff, isn't he, mate?
For me, when people say he's like a legend and all that, it does sort of grind into me a little bit. You know what I mean? I think he's been a good. He's been a good servant to West Ham. He's done some amazing things, and he scored some good goals, key goals that in key seasons. But to be a sort of club legend is a bit over the top, in my opinion. Don't you know what I'm saying?
It's this modern soft football, isn't it? All that crap. For me, it's been so long with Antonio, so frustrated, and we have done some crazy things, mate. Some of the contracts we've given, either Masuaku, Creswell, contract extensions to Krezi, Fabianski, big contract for Antonio. It's just been nuts, mate. But for me, what do you reckon? You reckon we'll push him out 8-9 million? I don't know, mate.
Yeah, it's about between 8 and 12 million. 100%.
We should go for another striker then, or left winger. I don't know. To cover Cornet, isn't it? Cornet's position.
What you just said, though, is you are right. One thing you just said there about whether we get for Rice, we have to spend it on a left back, a right back. Because let's be honest, in this modern day football right now, left back and right back are the most key positions for any team at the minute. Because that seems like that's where they work there, where the creativity happens down them sides. So 100% agree, mate. Left back and a right back. And you know what? One thing I would say is West Ham need to start going down the Brentford and Brighton route of getting these players on sort of data analysis rather than because you've seen a clip of them and you think, oh, here those sort of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? It has to be more data driven.
James, who do you think is going to be our new manager? I think it's Rafa, mate. I think
he's gone. I I said it the other day on my channel. I said I got a phone call about 3:15. I think it was Monday. Or Monday or Tuesday, whenever it was. And basically, the person said to me, he said, "Listen, the market has completely shifted on Moyes ever since that podcast. The market had been it, betting market had been it, boom, 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 all the time. So for him to go, I think he's gone. I think if it is Rafa, which is looking more and more likely that it is, I don't understand it really." Do you know what I mean? If you're bringing in Ings, then for me, you'd think Sean Dyche straight away. He's worked with Ings, he knows how to get the best of Ings. But if it is Rafa, it is what it is. But as I've always said, I've said it on NIA, I've said it on E20, it should have been done 8-9 weeks ago. It should have been done after the Leicester game, and then we had more time to go and get a more established man rather than a easy replacement sort of thing.
Yeah, if you had the right ambition, right project, right love for West Ham, and belief, and October you go out for Poch. I know he's probably said no, up yours, but listen, you push and push for the right person, and you can get them in if you give them the right backing, right project, right amount of money, which we weren't going to do. We just blown 180 million up on the wall. Our training ground's a joke. The owners are more probably focused on selling the club than moving it, pushing it forward, because that relationship with the fans will never mend, and it is on their minds. They don't like that kind of thing. If they had their own issue and the fans didn't care, they would get Sean Dyche in. But they're a bit aware of the backlash for Dyche will be a bit more than Rafa. Rafa, because according to what the owners can afford and what their way of thinking is, I think he'll be all right for them. I think they ain't got they haven't got it in them to get anything a bit better than that for now, James. And the timing is atrocious, mate. Timing wise,
it is really, but it's the old cliche with West Ham, isn't it? Like it's the scattergun approach. It's the same thing in the transfer market as much as it is in the manager market. So yeah, it's like throw it all out there and see who you can sort of drag in. But I just want I done a space late last night, really late. And someone said it'll come on the space from America, a young lad. He spoke really, really well. He turned around and said to me, he said, James...
We know a lot of them, don't we? In the US?
Right. He turned around and said to me, he said, James, the mentality has got to change at West Ham. Like the whole mentality has got to change of being... Right, we're not that Upton Park team anymore. We're the LS 60,000, and we've got to start acting like a big club. And I make him right. I really do. I think once the mentality changes, then our fortunes might change, and we might start going up to more cup finals. Let's put it like that, or more cup semi-finals.
I said on my show that before I gave the 180 million to Moyes, as an owner and worried about the money, I would have had a real clear-the-air chat with Moyes, because the previous 6 windows have not really gone that well. And from there, I would have shook hands and say, thanks for what you've done. We're going to hit more stumbling blocks with you, mate. It's nuts, isn't it? How they've given him all that money and they seem to clash in the window as well. And you can see what's going on. It's weird what goes on behind those closed doors. So much money you trust with someone. I know that once you install the manager, you shouldn't interfere. But before you about to give him a lot of money, and judging by the last 6 windows where you have clashed because you haven't bought anyone for 3-4 of them, and then you've ended up giving players away and they just walked out on the free and not playing them. And then it's just been a nightmare, mate, really.
Yeah.
With this one, the French striker, mate, 35 million, and we're not where we are in the league. You ain't going to come to us, mate, at the moment. So I don't think we've got the funds for that. The package with Ings is not bad. It's about 10 to 12 million with a few add-ons, bringing it to 15. He's 31 in July, so he is 30. Yeah, it just seems all right. Hit the ground running and hopefully stay fit and help us in a few situations.
What I want to know, Jazz, is why old Zachary has got a profile picture of Mohamed Salah with a crown on it. That's what I want to know.
Listen, they joined from all parts of the world and all clubs, and they're all welcome on here. And yeah, we've had a few. We have a joke and a laugh with a lot of them, Arsenal and stuff like that. But listen, they're interested in West Ham. That's fine with me, mate. That's fine with me. The Liverpool got their own issues anyway. They got a lot going on themselves, mate. What's going on? It's up to them. So more signings. We need more strikers. No real name, no real fullbacks being linked with us. Not really.
I don't think we get a fullback, Jazz, to be honest.
I know we've got a lot of right backs, but they're not really. Oh, I don't know.
Would you say our defence is really a major problem though? Like really?
Yeah. Because it affects us going forward, because our wingers are defending all the time. We're losing the edge going up front. So that's the whole team. But once you get department, like the old Arsenal team, they used to defend on their own, the back four and the goalie, and they're off. It's got to be specialised. Do that first. Not that the defenders are worried about you. You've seen Krezi, he doesn't. Wingers attacking at him, he hides, mate. You don't want to know. So,
I think the left hand side is a major problem. Like someone, I think Hammerhead just said it in your chat there, yeah. And it's bang on. He's 100% bang on the money. I think the left hand side is a major problem because we have got Cresswell, and then we've really got no one else. Like they brought in Emerson, and let's be honest, like Moyes don't want to play him as a left back, and he don't even fancy him as a left wing back either. So, like.
The whole team under Moyes is molded to defend and stay back and stay in your shape, which watching at home games drives me mad. Yeah. Right? So Fornals is there just to run around. Souček is there just to run around. But none of them can tackle, none of them can pass, none of them can set anything up. And this is what you constantly get: 2-1 defeats, 3-2 all the time, mate. That's the problem. And Agard is very, very good, but I don't know what's happening with Zuma, mate. So it's going to be tough for Agard.
I expect Zuma to start this weekend. There's no excuses. He was on the bench last week. He's in another week. If Zuma does not play this weekend, then there is something drastically wrong. What's going on?
Again, I might be controversial, but I love Cornet, mate. I absolutely love that player. I think he's exciting. He
Whoa. Love.
Cornet, because
Jazz, don't do the old
No, but how bad we were when he played. He tried to make things happen. He set Scamacca up in a couple of those conference games, and he has played left back with the French team before he joined Burnley, but he can play left winger and he can track back if you want him to. He can play the 4-4-2 up front. I think out of all the signings, he was all right. Scamacca, he's going down the Benrahma route. He's mentally not there with the manager, and he's kind of gone off the game.
I don't know, Jez. I look at Scamacca and I think, has Moyes really got the best out of him? Like that's why
he's not happy, isn't he? He's not happy.
Right. So he ain't really. I see someone put a tweet up the other day, and I had to laugh. And I've had so many debates on Twitter. I must admit, Twitter's just a fun place to go have a row with someone, right? And they're saying, "Oh well, Scamacca's given his input to Moyes of like how to get the best out of him." Now I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, if a player is telling the manager how to do his job, right? Isn't that the manager's job to get the best out of the player? Like it's just criminal.
Just take you with a pinch of salt, mate. All these stories,
I do, right? So I don't think Scamacca's that bad. I don't think Paqueta's a bad player. I don't think these are bad players. I just think they're being mismanaged, in my opinion.
The bad ones
will go on to be an unbelievable striker, mate. He's got all the making to being a quality striker if you use him in the right way. We just don't.
Yeah, which I agree. 100% agree on that.
Governor, where you been, mate? We are about to sign Danny Ings, mate, and then get a new manager in, and the whole world will look a lot brighter for everyone. And I don't know what the cutoff is to get the deal done for him to play Saturday. Is it Friday lunchtime? Is it?
No, if he's signed today, he's done. He's there Saturday. Do you know what I mean?
Can we wait till Friday lunchtime? Is that too late? That's like Sullivan. Sounds like Sullivan, doesn't it?
No, I'll tell you what, mate. If it comes to Saturday and he's sitting on the bench, I want him to start, mate. Really, like he should start.
He's ready to start. He's fit. Yeah, no issues.
He's fit, ready to go. So there's no excuses really. He has to start really the weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah, Frankie, who do you think the new manager is going to be, mate?
Hard to tell, mate, isn't it? It is hard to tell. I think there was such strong sort of rumours that it was definitely Rafa, and then with the Ings signing, it almost suggests more Daesh. I wouldn't like to call it, mate, to be honest with you. As it stands, I really couldn't tell you, to be honest.
And what are your feelings on what happened to Haller and Anderson, mate? Would you blame that on themselves, the players, or the team, the club? And their brief time at West Ham, like I thought Anderson was good first season, then he lost confidence and stopped taking on people. And Haller was just Haller on his own, wasn't he? And I know I gave him a hard time. I know that. But
mate, Haller, I watched him. I stood there, Watford away, when he scored that overhead kick, and he had all the enthusiasm. He put himself around. He looked a handful. He looked difficult, and he goes back to, after leaving us, he goes to Ajax and scores the fastest player to ever score 10 goals in the Champions League. Like, he has got ability, mate. But it's like we say, some coaches and some managers make players better. And they're the good ones. Unfortunately, Moyes has this habit of making players worse. And I don't know whether that's man management and making sure they're happy and making sure that their general sort of time while they're in England is a good one, or whether it's how they're used on the football pitch and whether they're set up right and tactically, whether we get the best out of them. I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think that's why they go to such, from this really top level to such a poor level. I think it's because they become unhappy quite quickly for whatever reason. And I think we don't use him right. I think Hilaire was so isolated at times. You could see that every game that went by, he'd get more and more frustrated of standing up there on his own without seeing the ball. And he was just becoming more and more aggravated every single time he played for us, to a point where he just give up. And, it's not right that a player gives up, because they're on a lot of money and should always give everything. But I can understand sometimes why they get frustrated. Anderson, look, mate, he isn't a great player. He played for Lazio the other night. He scored in the 90th minute to make it 2-0. He's scoring goals out there. When you watch him, he isn't fantastic, but he was a decent enough squad player. Should we have ever paid 35 million for Felipe Anderson? Absolutely not. We overpaid. I don't know if we did overplay on Haller. I think he had the right value as a goal-scoring centre forward with his ability. I think we probably paid the right money for him, but unfortunately, it didn't work out, mate. Let's just hope we don't have the same with Scamacca. I think if we can get rid of Moyes, get him out, get a new manager in that the team believes in, and can start using Ings and Scamacca correctly, start getting the most out of Bowen, and maybe find a number 10 for us somehow, whether that be Benrahma rather than putting him out wide, or whether it be Fornals down the middle, which we've all cried out for time and time again. It might just mean that Scamacca does become the long-term fit for a striker at West Ham. I don't know, but it just doesn't look it right now, does it? Would anyone here now be surprised if it gets to the end of the season and Scamacca goes and signs for someone else? I wouldn't be surprised, because it feels that way at the moment.
I think I don't not disagree with you there, but I look at it like this: if we're pinning our hopes on the new signings, then we have got serious problems. You know what I mean? I think the old guard, for instance, are not putting their weight really. Like if we look at likes of Jared Bowen and how he seems to play every week. I know we've got no one else, but he's been getting away with it all season and like that. Haller for me was a really good player. I liked Haller. I thought he was all right. I've seen worse strikers at West Ham than him. Let's put it like that. So I'm not going to go in on the geezer. And as you just said, he scored the fastest to 10 goals in the Champions League. Like he's beat people like Ronaldo and Messi to that. So he's not a bad player. I just think sometimes with Moyes, he didn't know how to change things to benefit the players. And that's what he's doing again. Like he doesn't know how to change. And with a stubborn man, he will stick to what he knows all the time because he don't know how to change to something new. So with Anderson, I think Italy's just suited him, if I'm being honest. Like Italy's a sort of like a slow build-up play. And let's be honest, he wasn't really that fast, Anderson. So I liked Anderson. Good luck to him. Obviously, he had a lot of mental problems. He went to Portugal, to Porto, and it didn't work out. And then he ended up back at Lazio. So good luck to him, though. That's why I'm saying that.
And Nolan has been linked with a couple of roles, mate, away from the club. Good timing for him, I think, isn't it?
Do you know what? I see that the other day, yeah. Right, I had to laugh. I'm thinking to myself, all of them just want to abandon ship. It's just like the ship is sinking and they're all jumping ship as fast as the next person. It's Warburton. He's been linked with Blackpool. Obviously, Nolan's been linked with Portsmouth.
Do you think they've been told, James, this is their last game, no matter what the result is, and they're just doing it out of respect to Goldie, and they don't want to rock the boat too much before that?
Possibly.
I think that,
Because what it is, if you was a sort of a man to say, you know what, I'm not having that, I'm just going to resign, then he doesn't get his nice payoff, does he? So I think that's on the cards, if I'm honest.
Do any of you see Paqueta as a CDM with Rice or whoever's going to replace Rice in the future? Do you think?
Well, he's definitely not a 10. We all know he's better position. He's in that sort of more deeper lying role where he can pick up the ball and get play moving and he can put himself about a little bit. I always felt like when he was, I don't know if it was because it was the Brazilian factor or not, that I just thought he was going to naturally be an attacking player who was going to get behind the front too, and you felt that way because he's a Brazilian, but he isn't, is he? That isn't his best role. He is much better alongside a deep line midfielder. So
Go ahead.
Right, the only thing I will say on that is his tackling's got to improve if he wants to do that. Like his tackling is iffy to say the least. Do you know what I'm saying? I think as a midfielder in a free, I would like him to be sort of like box to box sort of thing. Like what Declan Rice wants to be, I would rather that with Paqueta because once he does go forward, I feel something could happen. With Dec, I think when he goes forward, it's either going to be a shot or it's going to be played wide. It ain't going to go through the middle sort of thing.
The only thing that makes me nervous with that is I don't know if Paqueta's disciplined enough that if he pulls out a position, he gets forward, whether he breaks his nuts to get back and get back into shape again. I think Dec always knows that if he gets forward, he's got that responsibility that he's got to cover himself. I see sometimes Paqueta sort of drifts and almost gets pulled out of position a little bit. And that's why we keep getting caught down the middle at the moment, because he sort of drifts out of position and he has that responsibility trigger don't happen in his head, and he thinks, right, I've got to get back there. So, yeah, don't know.
Breaking news from the West Ham nut, Steve. Fabianski is injured, so I don't know. Oh, it was Randolph in goal, is it? More fun and games.
That would be a travesty if that's the case.
Randolph's on the piss with me Friday night, I think.
That would be a nightmare.
I reckon Palace is one of the other teams that Danny Ings looks to have rejected, gentlemen, I think. Vieira's doing a nice job at Palace, isn't he? Going along nicely, isn't he? I like him.
He's
Nice
doing
and
all right,
steady. Yeah, nice and steady, respected. Haller, yeah, he scored a few goals, mate. Anyone else, James? Because you like to follow the transfer market. Anyone else up for grabs? I can see that Wood from Newcastle could be going Forest, mate.
Mate, Forest are signing everyone, mate. Everyone. every time I go on Twitter, I'll have a little browse on Twitter. It's like Forest to sign another player. Not really. There's one thing I will say is whatever happens towards the back end of the window, maybe West Ham are looking towards doing deals. I did see something earlier on about Trossard going to Arsenal, which would be a good signing for them. Obviously, he's coming up to like last 6 months of his contract at Brighton. But yeah, if we can nick a couple of players towards the back end of the window, I think it's been a good win. So far, for me, if you was to rate the window right now, we've signed Danny Ings. We need a striker. You've got to put it in high 7 at the minute. Right, like for what we need. We need a striker out. We've got a striker in who's Premier League proven. So you've got to give it high marks. Now is to improve on that. Is we need a left back and like even a right back even. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think about Emerson and Kehrer?
Do you know what, Kehrer, mate, absolutely has done me over big time. Because I looked when we was looking into him. I've done a little bit of research on him with PSG and Schalke and all that. Went really all the way back in time. And he looks a good player. He looks a good player in Germany. PSG signed him, etc. The moment he comes to West Ham, he's just turned into a player that don't know how to defend. He just don't know how to defend, right, to save his life. And his best position for me is a right back, and even that is iffy, to say the least. Do you know what I mean?
He was a wonder kid where Barcelona and PSG, they fought for him, didn't they? 33 million they paid for him. Not for me, mate. He's a utility player. What does that mean? What you're really good at, mate? Can't defend right back, can't defend in a 4-4-2. Oh, that's 23 million up the wall on Emerson and him, mate. Ooh, you know what I mean?
Emerson for me, right,
he's better than Kehrer, yeah.
Yeah, like he's a cheap signing, but that's what you get when you sign cheap players. Like he was Chelsea's 4th choice left back, I think it was, for a reason, because he wasn't good enough at Chelsea. Has he really been given a fair crack at West Ham? That's one thing I will say. Like, has he been given a good run of games? I wouldn't say he has been. Like he's played in and out. He's been an in and out player, but we need a left back, mate. Like I don't know how many years, right, that we've all sat around either doing the YouTube or in a pub talking about West Ham, and we've all said we need a left back at this club, and we're still no better than we was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Masuaku's still at the club because I think the Turkish club sent him back to Santa Claus, bringing him back to West Ham, and I don't know how long he's got left, but yeah, no one's really going to look at him either. But the other issue might be that new manager comes in and, like you said with Scamacca, he might not want him. I don't know, because I was saying the other day that I don't really know that much about Scamacca, truly what he's like. But someone like Rafa wants someone like Danny Ings who's full of energy, running behind the striker, behind the defender, on their shoulder, looking for breaks, go left, go right. He wants real mobile players, someone like Rafa running around, trying to create things.
I don't know if you was to go back when Benitez had, like, let's go back to sort of 2005, 2006, when he had like people like Jibril Cisse playing for him, and like who was like mobile, good striker.
Torres, yeah, but they were aggressive. Torres running at you, but hopefully Scamacca can run at people. I don't know, go deep and then run back in. I don't know.
100%. Like we just need something, don't we? That's one thing I will say.
if all the coaches go, I don't care. Moyes can take all of them with him. I don't really care any of them. Freshen it up, bring some old boys in. I ain't got a clue. Again, yeah.
I've got a question for you, Jez. Here's a question for you because there was another thing. I did see Frankie comment on it the other day, so I'm going to put it to you. I see a list of the top 5 best managers at West Ham. Yeah. Now we all know about Greenwood and Lyle, so you can take them out of the equation. They are the creme de la menthe of the team of like the past. And then I see Harry Redknapp, David Moyes, Alan Pardew. Who in your out of the other 3, where would you rank them?
I think obviously when Lyle got the sack, we only had 4 in history. We had the record in 1989. West Ham only had 4. This nuts that stat.
Yeah.
But after Lyle and things like that, I think you got to look at. It's tricky, like Frankie said, because we don't win anything. So it just goes on how much football you've enjoyed, and you got to put Harry up there for me.
Yeah.
Alan Pardew, and then after that,
would you put Moyes? Would you put Moyes in front of Pardew?
No.
Because the way I look at it, I'll tell you the best way of summing it up. Because I had this debate last night, and it was unbelievable some of the stuff I was hearing. When I look at Pardew, he got us to an FA Cup final. We were 20 seconds away from winning the cup final. Yeah. He also had dealt with West Ham being relegated. He rebuilt the team. He brought the likes of Nigel Reo-Coker, Dean Ashton, Zamora. He gelled a team together of players, right? That sort of 06 season, West Ham was probably like flying in that season, and the cup final proved that, even though we lost in the cup final. But the people will say about Moyes because he's got 6th and 7th in a semi-final for the European competition. So I just wondered if you think if it's more, would you lean more towards Pardew in 06 or Moyes?
Pardew for me. Yeah, Pardew for me. Yeah. Pardew. After that, there's not much there. You got great football under Zola. I got Sam, you got Bilic, there's nothing there. So I would just look at the top 3 or 4. I wouldn't even bring anyone else in after that. Billy Bonds was there for a long time, but that was largely in the division below, up and down. Lou Macari there for a year, but he ended up buying. Yeah, he left his mark, Lou Macari, 6 months, and he bought Miklosko, Ian Bishop, Trevor Morley. All these players made Julian Dix captain, brought Stuart Slater in, Jimmy Quinn, loads of things. So I think it's more about not how long you've been there, what you've done, and the mark you leave behind. So I would leave it at Harry and Pardew, and I'll draw the line after that. After that, it's not worth mentioning anyone, mate. Sad, but Zola. I do wonder with Zola what could have happened. I don't know, with a little bit more around him and a bit more, because he was proper West Ham, Frankie. When he's Zola's football, oh my God, that was something, mate, under him. Wow. But then
it was good, mate. It was the most attacking-minded football that I've seen under West Ham. He really did try and to really go at teams, and not just that, but passing, mate. He had us playing on the floor. I was gutted when that sort of come to a sudden end. I just think we could have given him a little bit more time, mate. That is someone who I felt deserved more time, because there was evidence of things coming good. Moyes has been given a lot more time with no evidence of anything changing. So,
what would you say on that, Frankie? What I just said about the list?
Well, I'm very much obviously the people who have brought a success in behind that. I do think Pardew's got to be up there. Mate, I think ultimately Dean Ashton as well was one of the biggest unfortunate happenings that West Ham could have had, because I think he would have gone on to just be incredible, mate. I think he was so good. That was just typical West Ham bad luck, that was. Redknapp, I enjoyed Redknapp's time more than I've enjoyed Moyes' time. You know, and I know people will really dig me out about that and try and pull me on that, but I just did. I felt like at least we had.
They're not going to dig you out for that, Frankie. It's a very good statement.
I tell you, mate. Because
really,
people do like mad. But I felt like with Redknapp, we had an identity. Yes, he was a wheeler and dealer, and he was a nightmare, and there were a lot of bad things with regards to Harry. But we knew what we was. And I still, do you know what I always benchmark this management stuff with? Right, under Harry, you could go any country, even when we were doing bad, any team in the country, and you'd feel like you had a chance of winning. Like when we turned up at Old Trafford in that third round of the FA Cup, I believe we'd win. You know, when we went to Chelsea, bottom of the league, and we beat them 3-2, I believed we'd win. There were games that you just always felt like, with our grit, determination, and basically identity West Ham had back then, that we could always get a result over someone. Recently, I just have never felt that way. I've always, you know, gone to these places and just writ it off. And, you know,
I think it's a lot to do with like a generation type of things. Because for me, when people disrespect Di Canio, I look at them and I'm thinking, you don't know, like he come to the club as basically a nutcase and ended up becoming a West Ham folk legend, basically, if I'm honest. Like when people speak about Di Canio, some of the things Di Canio done on the football pitch was unreal. But Harry Redknapp brought him to the club. He took the risk on him as a wheeler dealer, as you just said, and brought Di Canio to the club and scored some absolute amazing goals. Like, and West Ham are not known for winning anything. Let's be honest. Like, you don't support West Ham for the trophies. That's what they always say. So, I agree with you on that, Frankie. Also, I will say one thing about Redknapp. He did give the youth a go.
yeah,
Rio, Lampard, to name two. He gave him a go. He was not scared of trying new things, and he also did try. He did try and buy younger players. Like he got Trevor Sinclair out of QPR and got him to West Ham. And like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think he gets a lot of disrespect for what he done off the pitch rather than what he done on the pitch.
See, our club is different. That's why we're West Ham. He was a West Ham manager. Zola was a West Ham manager. Bilic was a West Ham mold. Even though whatever happened, he played good football, and God, did that man keep me excited as a West Ham fan in terms of buying players.
Yeah.
And for me, that team where he brought Hartson and Kitson together with Lomas,
97, 98, yeah.
That was the best team for me, with Unsworth and Ian Pearce, and then he had. That was great, and we gave Man United a game around that time, finished top 5, top 6, whatever. That peaked for me, and then a few dodgy signings, and that was the end for him. But Alan Pardew, he had to build a whole new team after going down. Rio Coca, like you said, Gabby Dern and
Collins.
New partnership at the back. That all worked for him. And Hayden Mullins, God knows where he found him from. And then Zamora from Spurs on the bench. Because everyone left the ship, didn't they? Defoe, they all legged it, didn't they? All of them carried, they all went. And
he brought in people like Matthew Everton, who's like was doing not a lot of Tottenham, and brought him in, and like, do you know what I'm saying?
What about Yossi Benayoun? What a player, mate! You know, he looked like he hasn't eaten in a week. God, that boy could move with the ball. Talk about ball carriers, Benayoun, mate. You know,
and one of my favourites, Thomas Repka, mate. Absolute mentalist. You know what I mean? But. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, listen, I think that this was right. Obviously, some people are looking at it because they've never seen West Ham this good. Like, well, let's be honest, I've never seen West Ham in Europe, like competing for like major sort of things. But at the end of the day, I know it's hard for people to admit this, but
I've got to pull it and all, mate. I've got to pull it and all. Anyone who believes, right, we were that good, and anyone who believes that Moyes pulled up trees, I think what did it, I think what really cemented Moyes as this, whatever they want to call it, this successful manager, blah blah blah, was because Seville had beaten so many English teams in Europe, beaten United, beaten everything else, right, and everyone felt like that was the biggest, you know, turn up for the books that you've ever seen. Well, Seville could go down, mate. They are trash. They are useless. Nobody, and there's so many people who still say it now, who haven't gone and looked at where Seville are now in their league. They are awful. And I don't think people realise that Seville side we played, while it was a great result, it wasn't a good result out there. I went out there and we played poor that night out there. We played really bad. Didn't even get into the game or make a go of it. But we was still in the game because it was only 1-0. Brought them back to the London Stadium. And that was just one of them nights where it was just special. You know, the atmosphere was incredible and everything else. But, you know, it wasn't as big a scalp as everyone makes out. They were massively on the decline, and they are literally in relegation trouble right now in their league and could quite easily go down. So that shows you how good they were. The Lyon one was a fantastic result away from home. To win 3-0 away from home in Europe anywhere is a great result, and I'll give it that. But other than that, there weren't that many trees pulled up. As soon as he played a live team, someone who had a bit about him and had a bit of character and wanted to beat you, He didn't even get in the game. They ironed us out with ease, like literally brushed past us. So, you know, I don't even really buy into this narrative of, you know, well, we was playing well and didn't he have us? I don't really see any evidence of it, mate. I don't. And I know people get annoyed by it, but I just don't. I've never sat there in these recent times and gone, my God, didn't we play amazing? Even that Lyon game, the first 25 minutes, we were banging trouble until you had the typical Dawson shithouse corner and he bangs it in on the near post. We weren't looking good at all. And I know that's all, you know, the results all that matters, and I'll take that on board. But I just haven't sat here going, Core, don't we look good at any stage under Moyes' tenure?
It's not been West Ham football, and he'll catch up with you. That's why we're different. The West Ham, if you don't play we'll kind of not say anything. You know, when we need results, we're in the shit. But long term, you got to play. What do you know about Spence, the guy at Spurs, 20 million wing back, who they haven't played at all, and he's available? I think
he's available, mate, but he ain't coming to us. Spurs won't let him sign for us, mate.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? No,
Peter Masuaku, Peter. I'm sure he's on the way back, isn't he?
He's been recalled. But no, I just come back to what Frankie said about that. I do agree with you on that, Frankie. I really do. I think a lot of fans get blinded by the sort of the glitz and the glamour of it. But when we did play Frankfurt, especially the home game, we played the occasion and not the game. It was all like fancy lights, music. You'd think it was at a fucking rave or something. Do you know what I mean? And like it should have been focused on the game. And listen, people say about the second leg we pressed well, and they're right to say that. But we lost that game in the first leg. As soon as we went 2-1 down, once we started chasing, then
we never really got back in it. What was really weird, mate, is Seville we was bang up for, and the crowd was incredible, and it was just electric from start to finish. The Frankfurt game, because they scored that early goal, it knocked the stuffing out of the team and the supporters. We didn't sing a song after that goal winning. 5 minutes. For the rest of the game, for 85 minutes, we never got behind them. We never made any noise. We never... Mate, that semi-final, I don't even feel like in my lifetime I've been to European semi-final. It literally came and went with a whimper. It literally just passed us by. We didn't even... I don't sit there... I thought if I ever saw West Ham in a semi-final and we played that semi-final at home, it would just be something to remember. And all of our... Anyone who was old enough to remember it will always tell you the semi-final against, was it Anderlecht, Jazz, at Upton Park? Was the 76,
the atmosphere. Yeah. I think Steve was there.
It was the best ever, and this and that. You know, I don't even really remember it as being, well, it wasn't. It just wasn't that amazing, mate. It was
like damn squid, wasn't it?
It was, mate. It was dead.
Yeah.
It was really, really poor. I thought we would get behind them and rock that ground from start to finish, and we didn't. It was a shame, mate, really.
Anyone want Basuma not being used?
No, he rejected us before, mate. I can keep him. Anyone from Tottenham, West Ham won't ever get. Just don't do business with them.
Yeah, that's why we're running out. Like someone mentioned the Lazio guy. I mean, not sure if we pissed them off buying Anderson. I don't know. To Villa, we haven't done much with them, so it seems to be going all right. And their manager certainly wants to recirculate the cash and everything like that. But what we'll do, we'll close down now. And so final comments, Frankie. What were you thinking about the transfer window, new manager coming in?
I'll tell you what my final comment is. I am absolutely cannot wait. I'm buzzing to get over there on Saturday, mate. I'm going to be over there crack of dawn. I'm so up for it. These are the games that our fan base is made for. This is the games that West Ham stand up and be counted. You know, West Ham have turned off the comments on the tribute to David Gold tweet today. They didn't need to turn off no comments, mate, because we will be impeccable during that moment of respect. We will then roar that stadium and get right behind the team from the very, very beginning and absolutely try and get behind the team to try and get the win that we so desperately need. I'll be right up for it. It's a Saturday 3 o'clock, which I've been waiting for ages because we never get Saturday at 3 o'clock. I'm going to be absolutely lagging drunk by the time that game comes around, and I'm going to enjoy every second of it, mate. I won't be sleeping on Friday night. I might even go over there and stay in an hotel or something, so I'm there ready to go crack of dawn in the morning. I'm buzzing for it, mate.
That is commitment there.
I'm ready to go. I'll get me over there now, mate.
If you want commitment, That's the man for you, mate.
Yeah, I can't wait, mate. I'm buzzing for it. I really am. Can't wait to get over there.
I think a little bit is because it's Moyes' last game, so we've got to celebrate a bit. I think that's a little bit.
If he gets sacked while we're in the pub after the game, mate, I'll get the champagne out. Don't worry.
I'll tell you what. For me, I agree. It's make or break for West Ham at the weekend. I think West Ham need to win that game on Saturday. Like I think when I see people the other day say about Twitter, and a certain person on Twitter who's a journalist turned around and said about the West Ham fans need to act impeccable for the David Gold tribute, like we don't act with any sort of respect when we do. So he got shut down quite quickly. Must win game, 3 points, get it done, and then move on to a brighter future, basically.
Yeah. Check out E20 Zone TV. I think he's doing a show later on, aren't you, James? So
yeah, I'll pass 3, mate.
Yeah. Watch that on there. For me, that's get a new manager in, go back to basics, play better football, play people in the right positions, sort out 3-4 positions that we need to. I know we can't all do it in one window. Rafa, I understand it's not a long-term plan, but the way the club have decided it's late in the window and timing and ambition and how much money and all that they got to sell, I don't know who else can come in from another league who hasn't managed here and experience-wise. So whether it's him or Deitch or Nuno, I don't want anyway. That was being mentioned. Nuno, I think he's looked a bit lost. I think at Spurs and things like that. So yeah, we'll see what happens, gentlemen. So hopefully this gets finalised on the official website probably tomorrow sometime. And let's see what Everton brings. But certainly our shows on Sunday will be very interesting. By then we'll obviously know about Danny Ings and David Moyes and who's coming in as our new manager. It'll be busy Sunday. Busy Sunday will be. But yeah, Frankie, going to see you Saturday night, hopefully. So,
absolutely, mate. Like I say, I'll be over there early doors.
Yeah.
And we'll link up and make a plan. And I can't wait, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
And probably the end of next week, James, I'll reach out to you. So I'll try to head over and see you.
No worries at all, mate.
We'll go for a pie and mash and grab 1 or 2 other lads, and we'll have a good time.
No worries at all, man.
All right, take care. Thanks everyone for joining
See you later,
in.
chaps.
Take care.
Man.
Bye.